Hi, this is Amita welcoming you all from Sherburne Health. The user-centered settlement health integration project aims at meeting the settlement and health needs of our newcomers. We hope you enjoy the series on healthy eating developed by our registered dietitian Christina. We hope to get more feedback from you all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, it's Christina here, registered dietitian with Sherburne Health and the St. Jamestown Community Corner. So in my previous video, I talked a lot about breakfast ideas, and I did that by highlighting a special ingredient, which was oats. And today I will be taking a similar approach. However, I will be talking about lunch and snack ideas, and the ingredient that I would like to highlight today is called legumes. So the legume family includes things like dried beans, peas, and lentils. And they are an excellent meat alternative because not only do they provide protein, but they also have fiber, B vitamins, and iron. So that's one of the main reasons why Canada's Food Guide recommends that we consume legumes as often as possible, whether or not we typically consume animal products, whether or not we're strictly vegan or vegetarian, legumes are great for everyone. So I just wanted to take a moment to talk about some myths and some stereotypes that I've heard over the years about going meatless or just trying to include more plant-based products. So number one, I've heard that vegan, vegetarian friendly foods are always the healthier option, and it really depends on how well you're planning your meals. Second, I've heard that you'll never be full if you become vegan or vegetarian, and again, that really depends on how well you plan your meals. And lastly, I've heard that beans, lentils, and tofu, those are only for people who identify as vegan or vegetarian, but that's definitely not the case. Whether or not you consume animal products or you prefer to only consume plant-based products, beans, lentils, and tofu are really good for everyone. So the reason why I created this particular slide is just to show that now more than ever, plant-based products are becoming more and more popular. You can find them really easily in the grocery store nowadays. And so what I've done is I've picked 3 random plant-based burgers from a burger company, and they market themselves as plant-based, not using any animal products, but the protein level actually varies in all of their products, and you can't always tell just by what they're called. So the first example is just called black bean burger, and it has 16 grams of protein per patty, which is great. The second example is called black bean quinoa burger, and it actually only has 5 grams of protein. So 5 grams of protein is similar to what you would find in those small yogurt containers. Also, one small egg can have about 5 grams of protein. So it might be okay for a snack, but if you want to have a burger that's filling, this probably wouldn't fill you just because the protein content is pretty low. And then the last example, it's called veggie burger, and it again only has 5 grams of protein. And so you can't really tell just by it being plant-based whether or not it's high or low in protein. The other tip I have for you is to always read the ingredient list, because then you know where the protein is coming from if they use a protein source. So it can be from beans, it can be from pea protein or soy protein, and then it's up to you to decide which protein you're comfortable consuming. So the recipes that I'm going to talk about in the next few slides will feature one member of the legume family, which is beans. So as previously mentioned, they're a great part of healthy eating, and they can help with weight management, cholesterol management, and diabetes management. But again, just healthy eating in general, beans can be a part of that. And they are rich in fiber, protein, and they have vitamins and minerals like folate, potassium, and iron. So this slide is just to show you that just like if you eat animal products, there's so many different types out there, you know, beef, chicken, goat, lamb, fish, etc. There's so many different types of beans out there for you to try. They have different colors and different flavors and different textures. So it's great to experiment just because there's so many out there. So this is a little tip sheet all about beans, and you can find this on the unlockfood.ca website. It highlights 3 different ways to make beans, and I will go into number 1, which is adding beans to a salad, pasta, or rice dish, and number 2, which is to make your own bean spread. I won't go into number 3 for the sake of time, but I would recommend, if you have time at home, to try making your own bean burger, and they show you how on this recipe tip sheet. So this is a really easy way to incorporate beans into your diet. What I've done is I've made a pasta salad. So I have some penne noodles as my pasta, and I have about 2 cups of vegetables, which are a combination of dark leafy greens and some chopped cherry tomatoes. And all I've done is I've added some chickpeas to this bowl and added my salad dressing. So usually some oil and vinegar. You can use dried beans that have been pre-soaked overnight or pressure cooked, and you can also use canned beans. It's really up to you and your personal preference. And then you mix it all together, and now you have what I would call a complete meal because you have your veggies represented, you have your starch represented through the pasta, and then you have your protein represented through the beans. So the second suggestion on the tip sheet is to make your own bean spread. So all you have to do is cook some chopped onion and garlic in a small amount of oil, and then add 1 can of rinsed and drained pinto beans. I didn't actually have pinto beans, so I just used black beans, and I think it turned out perfectly fine. Also add a little bit of water, and then in the next slide, you'll see how you mash it with the fork to get that creamy bean dip texture. So once you've transferred the contents into a bowl, you can use a fork to mash it into a creamier texture. You can use a potato masher, and if you want to use a food processor, you can do that as well. And then once it's that creamy texture, you can use it to spread on bread, which I've shown you here. You can use crackers, you can use vegetables like carrots or celery to enjoy this bean dip. So instead of doing the final tip, which is to make a bean burger at home, I'm actually going to do a roasted chickpea recipe. However, if you do have time, I do recommend that you find a bean burger online that you're willing to try. But for this video, I'm going to focus on roasted chickpeas just because I think they're a great snack by themselves, but you can also add them to salads and other dishes just to add a crunchy texture, but also add some fiber and protein, which is going to boost the nutrition of the meal. So what you're going to do is you're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit and then line a large baking sheet with parchment paper. Then once your canned chickpeas have been rinsed and drained, you're going to get a kitchen towel or a paper towel and pat them dry. This step is really important because if you put damp chickpeas into the oven, they won't crisp up as nicely and they won't be as crunchy. So once you transfer the chickpeas onto the baking sheet, this is where you drizzle a little bit of olive oil and mix it together. And then you roast them for 20 to 30 minutes or until they get golden brown. And don't forget to add your favorite spices or flavorings. I think I did cumin and paprika, but feel free to add, curry powder, onion powder, garlic powder, etc. So I do like to include a section for frequently asked questions in my videos. And one question that I do get asked a lot is, how do I make my lunch healthier, or how do I get more veggies at lunch? So what I've done is I put up a picture of just a sandwich that's made with white bread and some lunch meat. And the point of this isn't to say that this is an example of a bad food. I try not to put foods into good and bad categories. I try to look at meals as a whole, look at diets as a whole, and just look for where there's room for improvement. So off the top of my head, I would say maybe try to change the bread from white to a whole wheat bread. And I see some color missing. So there's not very many colors or veggies here. So try to add veggies either into the sandwich itself or on the side, because you can see that that's what's mainly missing here in this sandwich. And again, if you do have something like this, it's not to say that it's bad. It really depends on how often you're having this. I wouldn't necessarily classify this as an everyday lunch. Maybe once in a while if you're in a pinch, or if this brings you comfort, that's okay. But again, to have it every day, we would have to make some modifications to make it a little bit healthier by adding some veggies. So as a follow-up, here are some examples of some lunches that are pretty balanced in terms of they have a variety of different food groups. And again, I try not to say, there's good foods and bad foods. There's no such thing as a perfect diet or a perfect meal. The key for me really is color, if that's the simplest way to put it. Each example here is very colorful. So for example, I see, a tuna wrap with some salad and yogurt and fruit on the side. I see a piece of whole wheat toast with some broccoli and melted cheese. I see a pizza made with pita bread with cheese and other veggies, both in the pizza and on the side of the pizza. And then I see what looks like couscous with some chickpeas and then some veggies on top. So these are all balanced because all the food groups are represented. You have your starches, you have your protein, and you also have your veggies and some fruit. So another commonly asked question around lunchtime is, how do I make my afternoon snacks healthier? So what I did was I went on Google and I just Googled snacks, and this is what comes up. It's a lot of processed foods with a lot of packaging, and snacks don't always have to come in this form. So I'm going to give you a little formula to build a healthy snack. So for snacks, I generally recommend having two things. The first thing is something with fiber. So that could be a fruit or a vegetable or a whole grain or whole wheat product. and then pairing it with a protein, so nuts or seeds or some kind of nut or seed butter, some cow's milk or soy milk, some cheese, some yogurt or a dip made with yogurt, or a bean dip, which we talked about earlier, and even canned fish. So you can be really creative and mix and match something with fiber and something with protein to create a healthy snack that will make you full until the next time you sit down to have a proper meal. So this is a really simple example of combining something that offers a little bit of fiber and something that offers a little bit of protein. So I did apples and peanut butter as my combo. And the apples you can slice into little sticks and then you can dip them in peanut butter, kind of similar to dipping carrot sticks into hummus. You can also thinly slice the apple so that's almost like a piece of bread or a cracker, and then you can spread peanut butter on that as well. So to wrap things up, here is a summary of all the links that has all the recipes that we talked about today. The first one is just the general tip sheet with the 3 tips. So it will highlight adding beans to a pasta, salad, or rice dish. It will highlight making your own bean dip or bean spread, and it'll also highlight a bean burger recipe. The second one is the roasted chickpea recipe. And finally, the last one is actually a video of one of my colleagues. Her name is Nikki. She's also a registered dietitian, and she made her own video on how to make your own bean burgers at home. So because I didn't have time to do that, I highly recommend that if you have time to go to the final link and look at how to make bean burgers at home. And these are packed with protein because one of the main ingredients is black beans.
We hope you enjoyed this educational video brought to you by Sherburne Health. Please note this content is meant to be a general guide for everyone. If you have any health concerns or have been diagnosed with a specific health condition, you need to speak to your healthcare provider to discuss your specific nutritional needs. Thank you for watching. Take care.